Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. And I am your lender of choice, a loan officer for Old Capital Lending. You know, we've been doing Zoom at 8 for over 5 years. We have been getting together, having live conversations with industry experts. Like tonight, we've got Jen and Stacy who are going to help you be prepared in this multifamily arena. And, you know, if you are looking at deals, you really have to know what your lender is going to bring. How much money is your biggest partner going to bring? That's me, right? So when you're considering putting in an LOI, come to me first. You would hate to put in an offer that is way too high. So we're going to ask for your T12, your rent roll, your offering memorandum, and your underwriting. Send me the model. We're going to sit down with appraisers and we're going to sit down with lenders, and we're going to get you exactly based on the financials that you provided me, how much we're going to bring. It is so, so important. All right. And listen, Zoom at 8, we're here to help you make connections. It's like going to a conference, but you don't need to pay for a flight. You don't have to pay for a airplane ticket. You don't have to pay for a hotel, the ticket itself. So we're here to save you money, make connections, right? So tonight, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about being prepared, because I tell you every week, you need to do two things. One, invest in yourself. Get to know how you're going to become wealthy to have passive income. And we do that through the multifamily, buying assets in multifamily. Now, you can buy assets like storage, industrial. You got senior living, all of those different asset classes you can also use, but I will tell you that multifamily has a lot of fundamentals for making you rich and famous and wealthy for your future. So tonight we're going to sit down with Jen and Stacy Conkey. They have an education program like no other. They get you prepared. And then secondly, I ask you to invest in someone else's deal. Why? Because you need to know how people are communicating with you so that you can communicate when you become a general partner. How can you become a general partner and not know how to communicate and what to communicate? So always get educated and invest in someone else's deal. So tonight we want you to leave here really pumped up, and you're going to get pumped up because our speakers tonight, our live conversation is going to be really insightful for you. So many of us have done a different programs, whether it's been on your own or you've gone through an education program. Tonight, we're going to speak with Jen and Stacy Conkey. They are located, they used to be out here in San Diego with me, and now they're in Florida. And we're going to talk about why they chose to do that. But Jen and Stacy Conkey are not just a dynamic power couple. They're a real estate powerhouse with 2 decades of investment experience and an insatiable drive to transform the multifamily education space. Their passion isn't just in doing deals, it's in elevating others to do the same. Jen, who is an NLP master practitioner and business strategist, doesn't just offer investment advice, she breaks down the mental barriers and reconditions mindsets for unparalleled success. She's been instrumental in helping investors not only meet, but shatter their real estate objectives. Stacy brings a hands-on, nuts and bolts approach to real estate training. From the basics to the complex deal structure, she equips investors with the tangible tools needed to turn ambitions into closed deals. She is awarded America's Best Real Estate Trainer, has a unique ability to take complex topics and break them down to easy, actionable steps. She is truly amazing. as the visionaries behind the Remote Multifamily Investment Academy, which is called RMFIA Academy, they'll disrupt the status quo. They've developed the #1 multifamily academy for scaling in multifamily real estate, emphasizing the underestimated power of joint ventures before diving into larger syndications. With Jen and Stacy, you're not just getting great advice, you're getting a transformative experience. They're not just knowledgeable, they're relatable for sure, enthusiastic, and ready to make a real impact on your life. So tonight, I want you guys to meet my friends, Jen and Stacy. Welcome to Zoom at 8. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. That was the longest intro ever. Who in the hell sent that to you?
Was that my assistant? That was so long.
I'm so sorry.
We're all sleeping. Is she already done yet?
No. Everywhere. Put them all together.
Everybody's like, we don't care.
Listen. Every piece of that introduction was so important. I wanted to shorten it, but every word was specifically used and I couldn't shorten it. So
okay, that's okay.
I loved
Julie.
it. Okay.
I love you. I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh.
I feel bad because you might need an oxygen tank soon.
That was wow.
We're really excited to be here. Yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Well, I think, of course, listen, I joined you twice. We've jumped on phone calls. I've helped your students. I've told you every time that we've had a conversation, your students are prepared like no other education program. You know, and that's important to us as lenders because there's so many problems trying to track down things. Oh, we don't have that resume yet. We don't know how to underwrite that. Your students are so prepared. So that's why I want to really feature tonight. How do you do that? How do you get them prepared? And what do you guys bring with your history? So you've heard my introduction, but I want you guys to unpack it. First of all, let's start with you, Jen. Sure. NLP practitioner, tell me your history. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, I was born on a cold night, September 23rd, 1974 in Los Angeles. And then I ended up working in corporate America. So I was working full-time in corporate America for 22 years, climbing that ladder just to find out it was on the wrong wall. And for about 12 years, the last 12 years of my time in corporate America, I was actually doing real estate as a side hustle. So, and nobody knew. It was one of those things that I kind of like hid. You know, I'm sure some of you that have a full-time job might be a little bit leery to put what you're doing on LinkedIn. There wasn't really a lot of things going on back then. You know, it was like, I think MySpace was out and then Facebook, and nobody was really on there that was my boss. By the way, my boss was Janice.
Yes, Janice is in the house. Who was your boss?
Then I recruited her and said, you got to do this too. But yeah, I started off doing single family. I was doing single family flips. Then I was doing wholesaling. I ultimately did buy and hold for single family and just went through that entire escalation process, just doing 2 to 3, 4 plexes before I met Stacy. I really didn't get into apartments until I actually met Stacy. So when I met Stacy, we met online, and it was this online dating service, not to get TMI, but she said she did apartment investing. And I was like, what? I've got to date this broad more. Found out that she did, you know, all of these smaller complexes using joint venture. And I was hooked. I wanted to find out more about her. And I, in corporate America for 22 years, spent time as a regional where I would have all these buildings I was responsible for remotely, right? And I had to like manage them from afar. And I learned a lot about those systems and how to lead a team remotely. And she was telling me that she was a remote investor. And if we lived in California, when I lived in California, I was investing in my backyard and not making much money. Like my first flip was 7 months and I only made $1,500, and I had to split it between me and my brother and my dad. So I was like, this is not good. Well, Stacy figured out how to go do remote investing outside of California. So I was like all ears, hanging on the edge of my seat by the time I met her. And then when we got together and started talking about my remote strategy for managing a team afar, she was already doing that, but how could we scale it and do a process where we don't have to go for all these syndication, you know, deals and get an attorney and a PPM and all that? Like, she was already doing a form of joint venture. And I had asked her the question, well, after we went to a syndication training, by the way, and dropped 40 G's.
Aha.
Yeah, twice. And couldn't figure it out. Right. And I'll let Stacy tell that story. But after, because that's really why we created the academy and why we're on the mission to disrupt the industry, is because both of us invested in commercial real estate training, and both of us couldn't figure out how to carry the one and make it happen, because by the time we got into a deal, we didn't have the experience. I need a sponsor. Going through all of these things, it was difficult. So I had asked the question after that training, what if we could figure out how to factor in these acquisition fees that they sold us on into a joint venture? And that is literally how we changed everything. And we just started doing it that way and implementing it that way. And that's what we started teaching our students, which, you know, I can't say that $40,000, it is a lot of money. Our students have all invested that year over year to learn at our academy, just full disclosure. But they actually get into assets. Janice has over 280 doors. I invested 40,000 and didn't get anything. So, and it's really because of Stacy. So I would love to be able to have her tell her story. I think that why I became an NLP master practitioner, Julie, is because in corporate America, I was all about personal development, leadership, influence, negotiations, all of those things. And it just unpacked really nicely in real estate. Because one thing education companies do not teach anywhere else, where a differentiation for us is, we teach the softer side of real estate investing, what it takes to lead, what it takes to influence, what it takes to negotiate, how to do mindset work and actually show up and glow up so that you get the work done. Because a lot of us, when we're first starting, are a little bit nervous. So I got into that for those reasons and just realized that we could bring it to the academy. But I'll let.
Amazing. I mean, the strength that you bring is so different than Stacy. So I love that. All right. So Stacy, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to go into bigger deals.
Well, similar to Jen, and probably for most people, I started with single family homes and then plexes, and moved into smaller apartment buildings. And moving into larger buildings was something it's just the natural thing that you do as you're scaling. Actually, a big part of it was because Jen was like, "How do we do this bigger? How do we do this bigger?" And I didn't like think grand. I was just like, slow and steady wins the race.
Yes.
But I think that one of the things that was a really big differentiator in my journey, and part of what what I teach all of my students, where I think they have a lot of success, is I meet a lot of people who end up coming to us and they're like, I've literally been trying to do this for years, and I've done all these trainings, and undoubtedly every time I dig into it, what I find is that where they were learning was how to start apartment investing right off the bat with syndication. And there's nothing wrong with it. We syndicate. We are syndicators. We have a capital company. We do all the things. But when you're brand new, the learning curve is steep. There's like, no one will tell you it's easy. It's not easy. There's a lot to learn, and it's totally doable. But when you're adding the complexities of syndication on top of it, I mean, it's just a disaster for someone who's brand new to be weighted down with that much new learning curve. And of course, when you're syndicating, you're dealing with the SEC rules, and that's so serious. You got to know what you're doing. So a lot of people just never could get started. And I don't know, my first $40,000 that I paid in 2003 for my education, it was total garbage. I'm sure many of you guys can relate. You've probably done similar things like that. And I was so frustrated. I can remember it was like 2004. So I'd been doing it for 6 months, and I was so motivated. So I was powering through no matter what challenge. But man, I was smacking my face on every possible branch as I fell down the knowledge tree of all the things that weren't included in this totally complete education that was missing 95% of the details. So I was just absolutely frustrated. And I was like, you know what? Other people would give up. I wanted it so badly that I didn't give up. But any normal, rational person who is thinking correct normally would have just given up. And so I was very passionate. I'm like, you know what? If I ever figured this out, and I didn't know if I would or not at that point, if I ever figure it out, I'm going to go back and I'm going to teach people like A, B, C, D, all this stuff that I had to learn by doing it, even though I had invested all that money. So anyway, I feel like I just kind of took that all over the place. I'm just going to stop talking.
Listen,
from here.
I think what I want to make sure everybody understands is that you guys started out small. You got to understand what it takes to invest. A lot of people come racing into syndication and have no experience. They don't understand what is important for your investors, what is important to the residents, what is important to the lender, what is important to your, attorneys. Like, you guys walk everybody through that in a very succinct way in your program. So I want to kind of walk, if you guys would be so kind, to talk about the details of your program. You identify 3 different components that are needed on a team. So I think this is what really separates you from the rest of the education programs. You really have outlined it with each of the characteristics. And last week when we had Denise and the rest of the team, we talked about how they developed their team, and each one of them brought something specific. And you guys are doing something very different. So Jen, maybe you can walk us through each of those positions. I think that would be very valuable to our group here.
Absolutely. So when we were first getting started, one of the things that I noticed, and when I was in corporate America for 22 years, all I did was assess leadership. And everybody had a role and everybody had strengths that they were really good at. And there was a lot of focus on, well, you have to have an individual development plan. You have to focus on 1 strength and 2 opportunities. And I never really bought into that. I felt like if I'm working on my opportunities instead of soaring with my strength, I'm gonna leave money on the table. I'm gonna miss opportunities. If I could just double down on what I'm really good at and stay there and delegate or resource out what I'm not so good at, not only will I be happier and more effective, but I'm gonna produce better results. So one of the first things that I thought when we first brought our academy together was that there's 3 roles really. There's 3 lanes that people need to get into. And yes, they need to do the first deal. They need to do all the way through. We in syndication world, co-GP, we do that obviously. And in joint venture, it's a co-GP, but it's joint venture without syndication, it's co-GP without syndication. And within that joint venture, all 3 roles. So there's acquisition manager. They're the one who they found the market. They have the deal. The pipeline of deals are coming in. They're analyzing and underwriting the deals. And then once they get one under contract, they're finding somebody in the academy that identifies as a capital raiser or an asset manager. So for example, Janice is an asset manager within the academy. She's in year 3, almost wrapping it up soon. And she's now coaching on calls for other asset managers within the academy. So let's just say I'm an acquisition manager and I have a deal. I reach out to Julie. Hey, I've underwritten this deal. What does this look like? She says, this is the thing. This is the financing. Here's your options. Awesome. Then I'm reaching out to, let's say Maureen and Andy are here. I call up Andy. Andy, I need a capital raiser. Andy's a capital raiser within our academy. What's the raise, Jen? Well, I need 2.2 million. Can you do it? Yes. Cool. I go see Janice and I say, Janice, I need an asset manager. This is what the deal looks like. So I'm literally the first group of people I'm pitching my deal to is a capital raiser and an asset manager. And between the 3 of us, we're going to do this deal together. We're all 3 going to raise capital for it as much as we can, but Andy's he's going to go for the majority of it. That's his sole role. All of us need to make sure we complete that raise though. So that's most important. So with all 3 roles, I know exactly if Andy's the capital raiser, he knows what went into going through and underwriting that deal. What are all of the problems with that deal that might surface? What is our plan, our ABC contingency plans to make sure that that doesn't happen? What are we going to do? And then Janice is over there like, okay, well, here's exactly what we're supposed to do based on how we underwrote the deal. This is how we're going to implement that and execute that plan within the property. And the asset manager they have the hardest job, right? And so when we bring all 3 of those roles together, what happens is something really beautiful because the way they split the deal up, everybody has cheek in the game, right? We're not just going to bring a deal, get the acquisition fee and bounce. It's a matter of we all have cheek in the game. We dice it up in a way that we all share in this performance because there's investors that are brought to the table. And we got to make sure that we manage that relationship and keep it long-term focused. So that's how we mostly differentiate, not only between joint ventures first, then syndication, but when you're doing it in your first deal, you really identify, man, I really love numbers. I love cold calling brokers and lenders. I love doing market research. I'm a geek and like a freak in the spreadsheets. Then you're probably a really good either acquisition manager. And if you don't really like to talk to a bunch of people and cold call a bunch of people, you've got to make sure that, you're probably on the asset management side because you still love numbers. But if you love numbers, you love people, and you could sell a condom to a monk, then you're a capital raiser, right? Because you've got a skill and you can explain it. Now, I will say that we preface this with all of our students. You have to have gone full cycle on a deal. You have to know all three roles before you go and isolate into a role. You've got to know the whole thing. The reason why is because as a capital raiser, I need to understand what the acquisition manager goes through to underwrite that deal and literally stress test the hell out of it so that when I go talk to my investors, I can answer any damn question that they have. I also need to know how the asset manager is going to manage that asset and what things they might run into that are obstacles, how they might stub their toe, or what their plans are. If I don't know what options are available as an asset manager, then I'm probably not going to be able to navigate a conversation with my investor if something happens that's not ideal. So you do have to know the entire round, like all three roles. You got to know those and be in a deal where you learn all three roles. Then you pick which one you love the best, because then you've earned the right to go stay in that lane and be in that lane because you know the whole deal. That's really how we differentiate. It takes about the first year for them to get in and do one or two deals and learn the whole cycle. And by year two, they've already done a couple of joint ventures. They're ready to do syndications, whether it's a 506B, it's usually a 506B first, then a 506C, usually around year three. Unless you're Andy, then you do it in year two. Or Janice, you do it in year two. But depending on how much they learned along the way, and did they play full out? Did they get into deals? When Janice first got into the academy, one of the first things she did was go talk to somebody that was already in a deal and find out, how can I get in this deal and learn? That was her whole MO. And because she took that slow, quick approach, she started right after she learned the whole thing. She was ready. She was ready to go. And she leaned into her experience from 38 years in operations. So we really and we're also in the process. I know that I'm just really bird walking here. We're also in the process of getting DISC assessment certified so that when students come in, they take that DISC assessment and now their coach knows what their personality is, what their tendencies are, how they're doing all the things that, the obstacles that might pop up and how we can coach them through it. But we take a tailored approach based on the student's skill set and what they love to do, help them pick which lane they need to be in, and then guide them that way. That way, you're just burning calories doing what you love and what you're good at.
Wow.
Less mistake.
You know what I love about all of that, what you just said, is that, again, being prepared. You are coming at this a completely different way in that you're asking them to get into a JV deal. You're not saying, hey, let's get into a 600 unit property.
No.
You are helping them walk the journey, the slow process, because this is the long game, right? I think there's so many education programs that are now experiencing some more difficult times with, the students are upset. They didn't get their first deal in the first year. Well, you guys, you've already laid it out that, hey, we're going to get into a JV deal. That's much more doable, especially in this time in the cycle.
Yeah. Our number one value in our academy is results. And the academy's been around for 5 years. And in that 5 years, we've only had 2 students that didn't get a deal in their first year. And we worked with them until they did. And the whole thing is that all the other education programs that are out there, they really only teach you to get an accepted LOI. They don't really teach you the rest and managing the asset and what to do afterwards. That's a third way that we differentiate. We take it beyond, like we actually help you close the deal, hold your hand all the way up to closing the actual deal, and then how to manage it so you can keep it. So our students, it's a life-changing program because she created exactly what she wanted that she didn't have. I did the same thing. By the time we met, she was training people one-on-one. And I was flipping 12 houses at a month. I was tired, right? I'm like, if I'm doing all of these things, and at the time we were doing a bunch of, 2 to 4 units and doing buy and hold and a bunch of rehabs going on, just managing a whole bunch. And Stacy was on the road training people one-on-one. This was like circa 2016, 17, right? And I just asked the question, look at all the impact you're having with everybody one-on-one. What if we could do like create a community, because I am here
Mm,
and I need people that I can ask questions to. And I'm definitely not going to enroll with that damn program again, because there's a hotline to call and that is it. And I'm not getting anywhere.
mm.
If we created an actual community where people could show up and be a part of something bigger than themselves, and actually have a clear path on how to create wealth for themselves, wouldn't that be amazing? And she just looked at me like, are you effing kidding? Do you know? Oh my gosh, right? But I convinced her, right? I convinced her within 2 years that let's do it, we can do it. And thank God we did, because we have hundreds of students in the academy that their life is just, they're changed. And now they're paying it forward to others and bringing them along.
Right.
Yeah, that's really the 3 roles in a nutshell.
That's amazing. I want to make sure that everybody understands, because I think when I went to your conference, you guys did an amazing job of breaking down the session, that you try to figure out, where is my heart? Where are my strengths? Because a lot of us don't know. People come into this blindly, especially if you've never been in real estate, right? And you're expected to know, oh, this is what my role will be. Do you have any information that's published out there, maybe in your book, or something that talks about, okay, this is, if your personality is this, you kind of touched on it, but what could somebody use as a resource other than coming to your conference, that would identify each of these people? I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not really sure, maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't do that. Where are the clear parameters for this?
So no, it's not in the book, but I will write one. I'll make that happen.
There you go.
I will tell you the best analogy that I use to teach it to our students is, I mean, we're going to do a DISC assessment soon, so I'll have it all
Yeah.
figured out pretty soon and then have it in the book. But the best comparison is the CEO of a business. The CEO of a business is responsible for overall profitability. That's an asset manager, right?
Love
The
it.
CFO of a business is responsible for bringing in the financial responsibility. So that's the acquisition manager. Then when you think about a COO, a chief of operations, that person's really just responsible for managing all of the parts, making sure the communication between acquisition manager or CFO and the CEO are all in alignment, plus investors. So they're really just bridging the gap together and making sure that all communication is flowing. They do investor relation communications. They can't do that without communicating with the CFO and the CEO to get that published and out to their investors. That's the best way that I can explain it in an analogy that comes from business. When it comes to skill sets, there's also, actually there's an animal that you can relate to, right? So for example,
Wow.
a sea urchin, there's a thing out there, I don't know what the hell it's called, but like a sea urchin is like deep in the weeds and like really super, like they have a tendency to have analysis paralysis because they're going to assess all the data and really get in there. That's your acquisition manager. That's the one who's going to be in the details, like, on the 10 key machine and everything. Then you've got a whale, and a whale is the capital raiser, or a dolphin. Dolphin is the capital raiser. It's like, they're just happy and they're out there and they're like, they're able to communicate and just be dolphin-like. I know that that's a crazy analogy. Then there's a shark. The shark goes for the kill, knows how to handle bloody waters, and brings the money and puts it right on the table. That is your asset manager. So if you had to think about those types of personalities,
Wow.
when I do a DISC assessment, I'm literally going to give them to every capital raiser, to every acquisition manager, and every asset manager in our entire academy, so that I can determine, okay, this is the actual specific personality type for each role. Then I'll put that in the book, because we're
All right.
writing.
Well, for people that don't know what a DISC assessment is, can you walk us through each of that so that somebody can understand, oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand why you would do that.
Yeah, there's
And here's the question I have for you. Some people think, oh, I'm an asset manager, and you do that DISC assessment and it shows up that's not their role. Are there conversations that you have to say, well, maybe you want to think about this? I think you're probably going to run into some of that.
Oh, we do all the time. So
Okay.
that's very normal. And because I spent over 20 years in corporate America having performance conversations, it's pretty easy to just ask a few questions. Let me ask a few questions, and usually it's the open-ended question to get them to think about it. And then a couple of close-ended yes or no questions to filter them down. And then pretty soon they realize, yeah, I'm probably not going to be a very good asset manager. Andy would not be a good asset manager and he knows it. He would not be a very good asset manager. So
He'd be bored.
He would be very bored. So a DISC assessment is there's 4 personality types that it's looking for. If you're a driver, if you're super introspective, if you're sensitive and specific, or if you are like data driven, there's different types. And you have like a high D, a I, S, a C. Each one has a score, and whatever your top 2 scores are is your personality type. And then it comes with a whole packet that explains you to you. And since everybody loves to know about themselves, everybody wants to take it and read it. And then once you know more about yourself, you can identify, oh, this is probably why I freeze when it's time to go call a lender, or this is probably why I freeze when it's time to go underwrite a deal, because I'm not really into spreadsheets. I'm not a freak in the spreadsheets after all. That's me, by the way. I'd rather talk to people and raise money, but I'm not trying to underwrite a deal.
Amazing. I mean, I don't know what education program does this. It's so amazing. You're taking it to a completely different level, really getting to know the person that's in the academy, not just as a broad spectrum, but also they're getting to know themselves. I love that. That's probably your NLP stuff as well.
Yeah.
So before we go there, I want to go to Stacy. Stacy, you talk a lot in the academy about how to get deals done. You talk about figuring out what's the best method, whether it's say creative financing. I know you spend a time in the conference talking about what is your best way to approach these deals. What has been your success story in figuring out deals to get them done, well? Is it negotiation? Again, talking about being prepared, your students know a lot about asking the right questions. Can the seller pay for that? I'm not going to pay for that. Can the seller pay for that? Hey, and by the way, can the seller give me financing? So can you kind of walk us through some thoughts for the people in the house who are underwriting and some questions that they may be maybe not thinking about right now to get these deals done?
Well, I think I would even go a little bit further back, and I know everybody's at a different level, but one of the things that is really common that I see when people are starting in apartments, it's really anytime someone is starting something new. Everyone who starts in the academy, apartments is what's new to them. And there's always this concern because everybody has, what is it called? Imposter syndrome. Everybody has imposter syndrome. Like, right, every time you do something new, you're an imposter until you've done it, and you've probably done it a bunch of times, and then you finally can shed that. So everyone's dealing with imposter syndrome. And because of that, and because we all have egos, nobody wants to look dumb or inexperienced, because it's not easy to create deal flow initially. Like, the brokers are skeptical, the lenders are skeptical, the partners, the people who are going to put money in the deal, everybody's skeptical. So you don't want to appear like you don't know what you're doing. And the challenge with that, and what I always try to challenge them, is the questions you're not asking are the ones that are going to just pull the rug right out from under you. So when you're getting started, probably one of the most valuable things anybody can do is ask a ridiculous amount of questions. And we used to, for the first 3 years in the academy, we did a call every week called Ask Us Anything. And it's like, you can't ask me a question. Well, maybe we'll start getting into more advanced stuff, maybe if it's something I haven't done before, but nobody's ever been able to ask me a question that I couldn't answer. And the only reason for that is when I was new, I would ask questions about literally everything. I was so annoying. When I have to deal with people like that, I'm like, oh my God, it's so draining. But the reality is those people are going to know the most. And I learned so much. So I had to just check my ego at the door, which wasn't hard for me because I needed to have the information in order to feel comfortable to take the step forward. But a lot of people don't have that. So they're like, they don't want to ask the question. So just like right off the bat, no matter if there's anything you don't understand on a closing statement, about a lender fee, about Like, well, what does that mean if the seller says XYZ? Ask the question, because I'm telling you what, it's gonna set you apart. And all of the students in the academy, we have a huge success rate. And part of it is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask tons of questions, because things unearth. And by asking questions, like Andy is phenomenal in this area when it comes to asking a lot of questions to really understand, like, what is somebody's psychology? What is going on, so that he can find the common thread? Like, what is it that ties him to that person in a way that he can build a relationship? And then, he raises capital, and then he can present a deal to them in a way that is going to be appealing to them based on the questions that he asked. And I know this wasn't the question you were asking, Julie, but I feel like a ton of education out there, they start here, and you need to start here. There's a foundation that creates success, and it's just not taught in general. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
I love that.
But as far as like specifically what should people ask when it comes to like right now, financing is the biggest Achilles heel because of the interest rates being high. So, asking the question, well, how can we be creative in this? What are the different ways we could finance this deal? Will the seller carry, or will they carry some of it? And just not being afraid to go for no. The answer is already no. If you don't ask, the answer is no. So what is it going to hurt you to ask questions and to go back and renegotiate the deal if your inspection found that there was, XYZ wrong? And our students that we train them on, I call them students. The reality, they're not students anymore. They're investors. I have Janice here, who's a coach for us. Andy is now a coach for us. Denise is a coach for us, because they've gone through all of this and they've become experts in their area, and now they can come and give back.
I think that comes down to accessibility, which I think you guys are very accessible, and your coaches are accessible, and being able to be able to ask those questions when in some programs you just can't even get to the person that you need to ask that question, so it goes on quite answered. So I love that.
We have a call every day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, and the majority of the students in our program have one-on-one coaches, and that's part of why they get results faster, because you have a 20-year veteran literally doing the deal with you, but doing the deal right next to you. And when you're doing, this, Julie, when you're done real estate for a long time, you can see red flags 20 miles away that someone who hasn't experienced that before doesn't even realize. It could be right here, and they still don't realize that it's a problem. So that's Andy, ready? There's no Jen Stacy hotline. Well, for Andy, and Denise,
for Centurions, there is. Yeah, you just text.
All right, listen, I want to hear about NLP. Again, you guys bring such different aspects to the to the academy. So Jen, NLP, tell us a little bit about it. You just did a program called Unshackled. You're bringing people in to really go deeper, go into a different level of yourself, your understanding of yourself, what's holding you back. So maybe talk to us about those two things.
Yeah, one of the things that we noticed is in the academy, we have an entire online library. It's got like 272 videos, right? And you can go through them in 6 weeks. You get lifetime access to them. We give you a roadmap and say, watch these, watch these. Around week 6 is right when they're told to go start taking some action. And around week 6 is right when our chief experience officer tells me, hey, they're not responding. They're not responding. Because in our academy, we score you red, yellow, or green. Green means you're on track and you're talking to our chief experience officer and you are doing the course, doing the work. Yellow means you're not really responding. And then red means they haven't responded to me in 4 weeks. Jen, call them. So I literally just went through 10 emails for 10 students that our CXO copied me on. And I reached out and said, what's going on? Around week 6, it's no longer about sitting back and watching comfy videos and doing information gathering. It's about time for action. And what happens is this weird little thing happens in everyone's head where they've got this story that's just playing in their head that says, you're not meant for this. You can't do it. You don't have enough money. You don't know what you're doing. You don't even have the support of your people. You don't have enough time. You don't. And that story keeps spinning in their head and it keeps them stuck. And my job is to make sure that they get unstuck. And that's where NLP comes in. So I was very passionate about it in the beginning. And around about 18 months into the program, I had already been doing my own mindset calls, but I started doing a lot of research on which students in the program can I train to become mindset coaches. Since Stacy's training all the real estate coaches, I need to get some mindset coaches in the program. And it was about year 2 when a couple of them surfaced, and I paid for them to go and get certified as master practitioners of NLP and come in and be mindset coaches for our academy. And they host calls now so that anytime any of our investors are stuck, they can go to that mindset call and they can get tuned up. Maybe they have a belief that's limiting their ability to get things done. They get rewired right there on the call. We do all kinds of meditation, hypnosis, completely rewire you. The Unshackled event, I actually wrote a book, and you can get it online on Amazon. It's called Become Unshackled. And it's got my tattooed arms like this and some golden handcuffs. Andy made the logo. It's really a great book that dives deep into, hey, what the hell is this story that I keep telling myself? Where did it come from? How do I change it? And it leads you through how to ask yourself those questions and get to the actual root cause, right? And then of course at the event, I made an entire course. So you can have the book, do the course, and go through the entire process. And there's pre-recorded hypnosis because I'm a master practitioner of NLP, MER, and hypnotherapy. So I'm a hypnotherapist. So through that hypnosis, I can get people to, whether it's blessing their energy centers or manifesting something that they want, or rewiring a behavior that they need to change, or setting a trigger. At Unshackled, I rewired everybody that when they see green, that means that everything is great and they're going to be successful. I can do specific things, and so can my mindset coaches, to get into your head and rewire you for success instead of for being stuck. So that's really what it's about. And I think that that's why we have 114% retention rate within the academy. Our students don't want to leave. And it's a community of people that just give little nudges to each other, but they also lift each other up. And mindset and abundance is a huge piece of what we do. And I think that that's why they have so much success, is because they've all rewritten their stories. They have a different story playing in their head now. And when you change your story, you change your life.
Wow, that is powerful. I love that. And everybody that would come to your Warriors of Wealth live conference would have an element of this mindset experience. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I lead with mindset in the very beginning of the event. I lead with it. It's peppered in all throughout. And the Unshackled event is separate from the academy. It's open to the public. Like, I bring whoever wants to come can come when I have it. It's an annual event, but our students obviously get to come at a discounted rate. And when they come to their own real estate conference, I bring a lot of the Unshackled stuff to our real estate conferences. I just don't do the story part there. Some of the NLP things that are very helpful for real estate investors is I taught this back in August and last May. It's about discovering somebody's interpersonal communication preference. So for example, I'm a very visual communicator, and my secondary is I'm kinesthetic. I'm very touchy-feely. I have to learn by doing, right? I have to see in order to understand. There are some people that they're auditory, and you'll hear these predicate words that they use, whether they're visual, auditory, or if they're kinesthetic. So I teach our students how to listen for what words they're using. If they say something like, "Oh yeah, I see what you mean there," they're probably, if they keep using, "Oh, I see," or I can't quite picture that. They're using words that indicate their visual preference. And then you just match and mirror those words, and all of a sudden you're raising money for your deals. It's like really crazy. But people like people that they can connect with. So if you meet people where they are energetically, so if I'm, for example, I see Sanjay is leaning back. He's chill. He's kinesthetic as hell. I don't even need him to talk. I know he's kinesthetic. He's probably he's chill, right? And if I look at Christine is like this. She is very visual. She is very high energy. She's going to make shit happen. That's just who she is. Julie, you're the same way, right? There's ways that I can see just based on body language. Sanjay, I don't see his chest moving. I was also a professional poker player. I don't see his chest moving. He's not breathing in the chest. Visual communicators breathe in the chest. He's over there chilling, breathing with his belly. Ask me how I know. Game recognized game. My whole point is, if I walked into where Sanjay is and I walked up to him, "Hey man, you want to talk about a deal right now? And I got this one and he's going to be like, "What the hell are you on?" right?
That is
But
amazing.
if I walked up and I was like, hey, man, how are you? And I just kind of sat down and came into his bubble, matching his bubble, and spoke his bubble language, he's going to send me a bubble check and we're going to do deals because now we have a relationship and you got to make that connection. And when you can make that connection and meet people where they are, they're going to meet you back and they're going to feel like, man, I feel like I've known you for a long time. People tell me that all the time. Jen, I feel like you've known me forever. And I'm like, I have. It took 5 minutes to realize what your preferred communication style is. And you will feel like you're the only person in the room. And that's the goal. That's
so powerful. So let's take the last couple moments and talk about the Warriors of Wealth conference, the live conference that's coming up in November. Give us like a broad overview for those people that may want to join you for, figuring out, do I fit in with this group? Do I like the energy? Do I understand the path that I'm on and does it match?
Absolutely. So the conference is going to be epic. We'll just start with that. The last time we held a conference, it was sold out. This time we only have room for 333 seats and we've already got 650 people saying they want to come. So when we announce that the tickets are going on sale, make sure you're on the email list. Because they're going to go fast. Right now, it's only open for our students and we have them enrolling right now. We want to make sure that they get the access so that they can come. But the event is literally, we're going to have attorneys there. We're going to have tax and asset protection. We're talking about all wealth strategies related to real estate investing, whether it's multifamily, whether it's single family homes, whether it's shared housing, recovery housing, social housing, you name it. If it's a way to build wealth with real estate investing, it's going to be at the conference. So it's going to be huge. It's 3 days, November 8th through the 10th. We're having a casino night where everybody can network. So all the VIPs will be able to network at casino night and do all of the schmoozing and getting to know one another, meeting all of the people, all of the sponsors that'll be there at the event. I know that I'm going to be doing a lot of mindset stuff there to get us set up. And at the end on day 3 on transformation day, VIPs will be breaking an arrow with their throat. I forgot to mention that I do that thing. And then everybody that's general admission will be able to break a board. But what we do on transformation day, the very last day, is I help you create the extraordinary life that you want. And what is it that you want, but you don't think you can do? And the arrow represents everything in your way, every limiting belief, every I can't, or this won't happen, or this is not available. And it's a 40-pound arrow that could kill a grizzly bear. And you snap it with your throat with a board. And when you break through it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. And now I know that I just did this with the softest part of my throat. I can probably do anything. I've had people break that arrow and then go do their very first deal within 3 months or go raise $2 million with the capital. It's one of those things that's just, what's that?
Are you insured?
Yes, I'm insured. I'm insured and certified to do it. So we're good. And then on the board break, we do the same thing. So you're writing all of the things that you want to accomplish. And on the back side of the board, you're writing all the reasons why you won't be able to. And then I have you break through the board. Oh, look, Andy's got his arrows. Andy's broke an arrow at least twice. But it's a very powerful moment. And what we do is we have it so that when you're in the room and you're watching that arrow break, you're just, man, I'm next, right? And when the tip of that arrow hits you right here, it's real. And you realize, oh crap, it looks so easy. Everybody else just snapped it really quick. And now it's on my throat and I'm a little panicked.
It's scary.
And it's a little scary for them, right? But then I walk them through it like eye to eye, we're here, let's do it. And they smash through that arrow and then they're just like on fire and they go out and they do amazing things. So the transformation day alone, there's Janice's board. There you go. The transformation day alone makes people get in the zone. It's why a lot of people come. So yeah, that's basically it. Julie, you're going to be there, right?
I'm very excited. And I got to tell you, of all the conferences, I go to probably 10, 15 conferences. I travel a lot. But when I go to yours, I become myself. I become who you know me, who I am.
I do.
I feel very solid in who I am when I go to your events. You can take off your coat, your shield, all of that. You become who you are at your event. And I just feel so lucky to know you and to be part of the people that you are training, because you're doing an amazing job. And I just want, as I've said in the past, you guys are like peanut butter. I just want to spread you around
I
to
love
have
you.
other people get to know you and be successful, because you are, it's life-changing. The event is life-changing. So I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Let's open it up, see if there's any questions in the house. And if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the method to do that?
The best way is to go to warriorsofwealth.com. There's we have like a curated list of our 8 best free training videos. You can binge on those. And at any time you want to book a call, you can book a call.
Fantastic.
We're also on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. We are everywhere. We are omnipresent.
I love that. All right. Naeem has a question. Naeem, come on off. You're good. Good to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, Jen and Stacy. I have a question about capital raising. What is your strategy on capital raising?
Can you be a little bit, when you say what's our strategy?
So how do you teach your student to raise capital? What is your strategy? Is it in person? Is it online? If it's in person, where to go? How often to go? What to say? If it's online, where to post? How to do that? How often to do that?
Okay.
A little bit more specific.
Okay, so there's a couple, obviously when people come into the academy, they're part of a network. And so being part of a network, they're showing up every week, and they're, not only going through coaching, they're going through coaching with other people who are in deals, and then they do networking. So they're just literally getting to know each other. That's like the first layer. And when they're getting into deals, there's so many partnerships that end up happening just within the academy. Like most deals are funded just with each other in the academy. Yeah. When people end up starting to grow to the next level, like they're like, okay, now it's time to do syndication. Well, then those, some people still within the academy will invest in deals, but it usually goes then outside. So there's a few different things. One of the things I'm always and continuously teaching them is you want to be present on social, like just pick one thing, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, something, be present on social media and talking about your journey. Not from a standpoint of, hey, I'm raising capital, anyone want to do a deal? Because that just shuts people right off. Like they're like, okay, you're just trying to sell me something, and people put up a guard. But if you're looking to like lead with service, so if you're just talking about, I'm looking at this deal, or hey, I learned something interesting today, or hey, I checked out this market XYZ, and it's like you're sharing your journey in social media. The people who are your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections are going to start looking and going, wait, so what are you doing? Because it's not a secret that 90% of millionaires are made through real estate investing. So it's not like you're having to explain this new weird technology. Everyone knows that real estate creates wealth. And a lot of people are interested, but they don't know how, or they're not inclined to go invest in their knowledge and learn how. So you can be an incredible bridge for them and a solution for them to be able to get into multifamily through, doing it with you. So it starts with just, getting and being part of a network of people who are doing the same thing and getting to know each other, then social media from there. Yeah. And then if you start getting into advanced strategies, then you're talking about, getting a CRM and doing emails and email campaigns and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure one of that standpoint, but we basically like start small and just like start building and layering a foundation and do some deals so that you have credibility. Like do some smaller deals so that people don't feel like they're going to lose their money with you because you don't know what you're doing because you're too new.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've got to have a deal or two under your belt before you go to some, because they're going to ask you for your experience. And if you don't have it, then you've got to be on a strong team that has it. So we definitely teach the online presence, but on top of that, we also in person teach. So whenever we have a conference, we give out labels. So if you have a purple label, I have deals. If you have a gold label, I have money. If you have a black label, I'm just here for the popcorn. And when you go around and you know that you have deals and you're looking for all the gold labels, it makes it very easy management by site to go, oh, I need to go talk to all the gold labels. And a lot of times within our academy, we'll have panel interviews. Everyone wearing a gold label will come up and all the operators can ask them questions about, hey, what do you look for in a deal? That way they know how to communicate with that investor. And then we'll put the operators on so that the money partners can ask them questions about, now, how do you know to manage this asset? Tell me about a time where you screwed it up, or tell me about a time where you had a problem and how did you solve it? So there's different ways that we teach it. So to answer the question, it's definitely online presence. Definitely got to have a way where you can get some deals under your belt and in proximity, because that's power. Proximity is power to other people that are doing it, so that you could leverage their experience and learn from them. That's probably the most important piece.
I love it. And what you said is specifically is starting small. Again, that's how your program is set up. I love
It's not
it.
sexy,
No.
but it creates success. It
Yes.
just is the formula.
Amen. Amen. All right, Candace
Thank
Crawford.
Thank you for allowing me to come on, Julie, because it's not working right. First of all, I just have to say it's so exciting to see that I'm not the only gay in the village.
We love you.
It's, I look at, being a woman looking around the rooms is only, there's the person that wrote the book, the woman that wrote the book, the only woman in the room. And then when you look around and you're trying to gaze in the village, it's like it's far and few in between. So it's just really wonderful, one, to see more, and also to see, and I see some others in here that I'm not going to out them, but put radar out. But the other thing is that it's really wonderful to see you two as a couple succeeding in this business, and still you can still see the love between the two of you, because it's really hard to be in a business with a partner and then being in public. So I just wanted to add all of that, but I actually do have a question. And that is
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brella.
when I first got into this, I emailed you guys and just said, "Oh my God, gay people!" But anyway, so I guess your VAs didn't send that over to you.
No,
So
they haven't yet.
That's
I
funny.
won't hold it against you. But so you were talking about mindset, which is so true, and the NLP. I'm just trying to understand, what's the difference between NLP and EMDR? Are they completely different, but accomplish the same thing?
So EMDR is like a mental emotional release, and in NLP there is a form of that. Those two aspects are very much the same. NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, is all language based. So it's more associated to hypnosis than it is to MER or EMDR. But they're the MER piece of NLP and the EMDR, they're very, very similar.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense as to how it would be so effective in what you do. Great.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of EMDR. I have never done that. I do MER, but I'm actually going towards belief code, body code, and emotion code now instead of doing MER.
And off the not to share the time, and Julie knows about this with me. I just recently have been working with a program because of the way that my brain is actually wired. I kept struggling thinking it was upper limiting beliefs and all of that, and it just kept getting hitting up against a wall. And there was actually the way that my brain was wired, and I actually just graduated from a program that helped me rewire. Yeah, tonight was my last night. That's why I was so helped me rewire my brain and continuously know what I need to do to keep that wiring going straight. So I'd love to share that with you, that you could actually implement this, because it's been a game changer for me, just in being able to handle the moving parts of this whole business.
That'd be cool. I would love that.
That is awesome. I mean, they're going to add so many different things. I think that's a great one. Yeah. All right, Gabe.
In the chat, if anybody else is interested on the Zoom, just reach out.
Cool.
That sounds great.
Candace. That was really nice.
Yeah. Gabe's up, and then we're heading off into breakout sessions.
Jen and Stacy, thank you so much. I'll be quick. I want to get to these breakouts. You two are a breath of fresh air. I really appreciated a lot of the ways you're tackling the wisdom, because it sounds like you guys scoped out the landscape and saw all the holes in these gurus' games and decided to do something different. So appreciate you. I definitely want to support. What does it look like for people to support your situation and your guys' sort of growth that are a little more experienced? I mean, I think what's beautiful about your situation is you're going in with the JV model. Everybody's going to start smaller. The capital pools are going to be smaller intentionally, so that people can truly have some background and some experience. But then sort of how do you guys liaise with other groups of people that are a little more like experienced in the syndication realm that have raised capital, and kind of what does that look like when those people in your circle are ready to kind of go up to that next level and kind of lift the whole group up? What do you guys been doing?
We have our own capital company, Gabe, and Hunter Thompson is our direct mentor. I'm actually speaking at his event this weekend in Cancun. Spoke at Raise Fest also. So we learned directly from him, and Andy also has learned from him. We have all kinds of connections where we just collaborate. We do a lot of collaboration. But yeah, we have our own capital company, and we teach them how to raise for a 506B, 506C, larger amounts. We have some students in our academy that are already at that level. They're already doing it. Andy's already raised like $4.5 million this year. He's already closed on a 216 unit apartment building. They're doing bigger things because we're always staying in front. So we're always investing in ourselves. So we invested into Hunter's program. We're also, Tony Robbins is our mentor. We're constantly investing in ourselves so that we got to stay ahead of our group, right? Like we got to keep being able to add value to them and make connections for them so that they can continue to grow. I hope I answered your question, but
no, you totally did. But I want to add one other element on the other end of that. You know, because people do kind of need to come into your program and get down with your program through learning themselves and doing a smaller JV. How do you support folks, and there's a lot of them in single family and multifamily, that come in with this, I have absolutely no equity. You know, I could barely hold the job, but I really love real estate. I've been watching lots of YouTube videos and I want to be amazing at the space. You know, do you coach those people sort of out of your circle and say, hey, go practice, do some flips, do some wholesales or something like that and come back? Or is there a space in there for somebody without the equity? You know, because I come across a lot of people on both ends. I interact with more people that are experienced, but I also find those people that are a little, you know, not at the beginning of their journey. And I don't like getting those people into a $40,000 mentorship program where the reality is you probably need $400,000 in order for that 40K to have any kind of an impact on your life, right? Otherwise, you're starting back at the basics. So talk me through, what do you do when you have people that don't really have that equity base to start this business?
Well,
I was just going to say, Andy didn't have two nickels to rub together when he launched it, but that's okay.
So the thing is, Gabriel, we do not try to be, we are not the solution for everyone, nor do we try to be. And there is a reality. There needs to be a certain level of maturity, a certain level of, you know, financial stability when you're stepping into multifamily. But what we haven't talked about tonight, because it's not as relevant right now with the interest rates being higher. The other program, the program that we started the academy with, was for people who want to get started with 2 to 4 units. So when someone's just trying to get their first duplex, that's a different avatar than someone who's going to come in and say, I want to buy a 20 unit off the bat. Most of the people who are now in year, you know, 3 and 4 with us, they did start with the 2 to 4 units. They got a couple of those deals. And just right from day one, because when I started in real estate investing, I did not have my own capital. And so I was ready to hustle and I was willing to work hard. I wanted it. And so for the people that come in and they don't have a lot of capital, I never say if you're completely broke, then, well, you're not in a position to pay for mentorship, frankly. And we have oh my God, we have so many free resources out there. Yeah. We have many people who come to us and say, I'm signing up with you because your free stuff is way better than the $40,000 thing I just paid for. And so we develop trust that way. So we give away like so much of our knowledge and blueprint and tell people like, look, go ahead and make it happen. That's what it is, Paul. It's sweat equity. Be a solution for someone, but it's okay to start small if you don't have it and build your way up. But we don't try to market. We don't put ourselves as, oh, no money down. Can you do a deal, no money down? Of course you can. Of course. However, that's not part of our front-facing marketing because we're not trying to attract someone who just like, they can't even make ends meet or they can't keep a job. That's not our avatar.
Yeah.
If they want to learn, cool. We have 1,000 videos out there for them to watch.
And Gabe, we have a wholesale course. We have a 2 to 4 unit course. We even have a flipping calculator. We have all those, but we don't market that first because what happens when people watch all of our free stuff, they want to do multifamily. At the end of that call, if they just don't have the resources, our team will say, hey, there's a wholesale course. There's this, there's that. Follow that roadmap and then come see us when you're ready for one-on-one.
Super smart. Yeah, that's just fair because you guys are doing JV out of the gate. That reminds me of a scenario where everybody in that JV is going to have some skin in the game. And if you don't have any skin to put in the game, it's a game you shouldn't be playing, if that makes sense.
I agree. 1,000%.
Appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been a wonderful evening of learning, getting to know you guys a little better, and introducing you to my my audience here. I'm just so excited to have you and be part of my team here, and I look forward to seeing you guys live and in person in November. So again, if you guys want to get a hold of Jen and Stacy, make sure you reach out to warriorsofwealth.com. Is that correct? Did I say that right? warriorsofwealth.com. All right. Well, thank you guys. I hope to see you soon.